A few weeks ago, I met Maxwell out at a club for a day party. He was cute, tall, and had a raspy voice and British accent, my weakness, and we spent a good amount of time that night just talking and chilling. We ended up exchanging numbers before my group left. We texted pretty consistently for a few days, and planned a date, archery and drinks. When I arrived at the range and saw Max in the light of day, I knew I had made a mistake. Upside, he was actually even cuter than I remembered. Downside, he was most definitely a she. The boobs were unmistakable in her top, albeit pretty androgynous. After a bit of convo, I confirmed that she definitely identified as a female and a lesbian. I explained that I was straight, and thought she was a guy, and she luckily laughed it off. Apparently it's happened before. We still ended up finishing up our date, and had a great time. We've hung out multiple times since then. I have since introduced her to a friend who's actually a lesbian, and they really hit it off, and have been on a few dates. My friends have been roasting me for weeks, but I gained a friend and my friend gained a potential girlfriend, so really can't complain. TL, Doctor, I accidentally went on a date with an androgynous lesbian after meeting her in a poorly lit club, thinking she was a guy. Edit 1, thank you for the awards and kind comments. I'm glad this put a smile on people's faces. Obligatory: this didn't happen today, but was actually a few years ago. But I'm sure you people of Reddit will still be able to enjoy my pain. So, as the title suggests, I like spicy things. I have a large collection of hot sauce at home. I have tried most of the world's super hot peppers and I've won numerous hot wing challenges. Usually I'm fine, but as I've aged occasionally I find that my stomach suffers. Nothing too extreme, but a lot of noise and sometimes a bit of ring of fire. Cut to the day of this specific incident. I live in a medium-sized city in Canada. My brother-in-law used to live in another city about 140 kilometers/90 miles away. So for context, and this becomes important, about an hour and a half by car. This day in particular, we went to visit so we could drive him back to our house for the weekend. Now, we did this pretty often. Usually when we do, we find a restaurant to grab a bite to eat before we head home. The last few times we went, we found a small pub that specialized in buffalo wings. At the back of the menu they advertised a hot wing challenge where if you finished their hottest wings, you eat free. Without an ounce of hesitation, I ordered the challenge wings. The waitress asked, "Are you sure?" To which I replied, "I like hot foods, and I can't turn down an opportunity to eat free wings." She laughed and got my wing. They were hot, but I had definitely eaten hotter. And so, I got my free wings, paid for my girlfriend's meal and my beer and went on my way. In the coming months, I did this twice more. Each time, the waitress would ask, "Are you sure?" Each time I would say yes. Each time I got free wings. It was wonderful. Cut to this last time. We go to our favorite wing place. We waltz in with an air of familiarity and seat ourselves. The waitress, whom I later find out is the owner, comes to take our order. My girlfriend, daughters and brother-in-law all order and the waitress turns to me and asks what I'll be having. I say, "I'd like to do the hot wing challenge please." The waitress once again asks, "Are you sure?" This is where I fucked up. I stupidly told her, "Oh yeah. I've done this lots." Dear reader, when you tell the owner of an establishment that you've already eaten a free meal at their place and now you're just there to fleece them out of another order of wings, they do not take it well. Our previously friendly waitress turns to me and coldly says, "Oh, have you? Then this should be easy for you." It was not. My wings came and everyone's eyes went wide and they leaned away from my meal. Instantly, everyone's eyes water and the waitress, owner grins a big, toothy, mirthless grin. She says, "Enjoy," and walked away. I cannot convey to you in mere words the pain I suffered eating these wings. I took my first bite and it was searing doom. An explosion of nuclear fire blanketed my palate, not unlike what I'm sure the people at Pompeii would have experienced during the eruption of Mount Vesuvius. My body began shivering and sweating. A river of snot and tears ran from my face. Twice I went to the washroom to cry to myself and question my life choices. Though no one expected me to finish. I endured. When it was finally over, everyone was silent. We paid without a word, and left. In the car, My girlfriend turned to me and tentatively asked, "Are you okay?" When I just nodded in the affirmative, she asked, "Are you sure?" I just looked at her, expressionless. We began our drive home. Again, I would like to reiterate that generally I don't experience much in the way of after effects from spicy foods. This was different though. I could feel the burn in my esophagus still, right down to my stomach. And my stomach was getting worse. I was getting bloated and uncomfortable. About a half hour into this hour-and-a-half drive is becoming increasingly uncomfortable to the point where I'm shifting uncomfortably in the driver's seat. My girlfriend again asks if I'm okay. I tell her, something is off. She suggested stopping to use the bathroom, which I declined. I wasn't sure what was going to happen, and I felt like it had best be at home when it did instead of some filthy gas station restroom. An hour into the drive and this discomfort is full-on pain. Bad pain. I step on the gas, blowing well past the speed limit. I didn't care. I just needed to get home. My stomach had decided that it was no longer going to house these abominations, and one way or the other, they were coming out. When we finally got there, I put the car in park and ran to the front door. I fumbled with my keys while everyone else got out of the car. The door finally opened and I vaulted up the stairs 4 at a time while simultaneously undoing my pants. It was a race to the toilet and I was losing. Just as I got to the bathroom it happened. I got the door mostly closed before a violent spray erupted from my asshole, painting the back of the door and the floor. To minimize the splash zone, I made an executive decision. The bathtub instead of the toilet. I launched myself into the tub, and started doing my best to get my clothes off. All the while, I'm violently shitting and throwing up all over myself. My girlfriend, God love her, came upstairs and, with a look of absolute disgust at my vile bodily expulsions, took my dirty clothes away and cleaned the door, walls and floor. She came back upstairs after starting the laundry and turned the shower onto my battered, burning body. I was cowering in the fetal position as the warm water hit me, still amazed at the lashback a pound of spicy buffalo wings was able to put forth. She asked me in a sweet voice if I had learned my lesson. I feebly replied, yes. I lied. TLDR, I thought I could handle some hot wings, only to have the chef create something insanely hotter than expected and ended up destroying my bathroom. Addendum post-edit, the place was called Tammy's Queen of Wings in North Bay. And it was 100% my own fault. My ego got the best of me. They do make you sign a small waiver, and it's just the wings and any non-alcoholic beverages the wing eater orders that come free. Everyone else's food has to be paid for. Second addendum, whoa. This got a lot of traction. A few more answers, for those who are curious. The restaurant in question is closed permanently. Which sucks, because spicy or not the wings were pretty good. I didn't suffer any long-term ill effects, and I don't have an ulcer, thank God. We're in no rush to get married, but still kinda like each other's faces. And lastly, this was not the last time it happened. So today I, 35 meters, was in a meeting with my boss, 27F, and a few other co-workers discussing a new project we were working on. We were going over some details and my boss was explaining something to me when I accidentally called her mom. I immediately realized my mistake and apologized profusely, but the damage was done. My co-workers couldn't stop laughing and my boss just looked at me with a mix of amusement and disbelief. To make matters worse, I found out later that the entire meeting was recorded and shared with the rest of the company, till 200 people. I'm now known as the guy who called his boss mom in a meeting. Lesson learned, always pay attention to who you're talking to in meetings and never, ever call your boss mom. TL, doctor, called my boss mom in a meeting and now I'm known as the guy who made that mistake. A few days ago I, 19 meters, started working at Adult World. My first job ever. I shared the news with a few friends, but decided not to tell my family because I was convinced my parents would not approve of me working at a sex shop. Little did I know that my sister was hooking up with one of my friends behind my back. Needless to say, my sister eventually found out about my job. In an attempt to embarrass me, she showed up at the store while I was working. Mission accomplished. I was embarrassed. To add insult to injury, She acted like a customer and asked me for information about random sex toys she pretended to be interested in. I played along because the manager was keeping an eye on me. For the record, siblings of the opposite sex should never touch the same butt plug, especially if there's eye contact. When my sister was done playing games, I begged her not to tell our parents. She promised. I should have stopped running my mouth at that moment, but I had to know who talked. I made her tell me, which pressured her to come clean about her relationship with my friend. She got upset and left. The following day, aka yesterday, my mom appeared in the store. Of course my sister didn't keep her mouth. Probably out of spite. My mom wanted to know why she had to find out from someone else about my job. I said I didn't think she would approve. My mom said she approved, as long as I could get her a discount. The fuck, mother. I thought she was joking until I had to bag some of the products she literally purchased. If my dad shows up as well, since it seems to be a family thing, then I might fucking fire myself. TL doctor got a job at a sex shop. Wanted to keep it a secret from my family. Failed. My sister visited me at the shop. An obvious attempt to embarrass me. She succeeded. Next to show up was my mom, who actually bought sex toys with my mandatory assistance. I hadn't been to the dentist in about a year, and the soonest available appointment I could get from my last dentist is about 6 months out. So, I call my insurance company and ask them for other dental offices in my network. The nice lady refers me to an office in my area. I call the office and they confirm that they are in my network, accept my insurance, and have availability in the next month. Perfect. I visit them for a normal checkup. They check my insurance and everything is good. They schedule me for a follow-up for a couple of fillings. A couple weeks after I get my fillings, I get an explanation of benefits in the mail telling me I owe over $500 for this visit. I call my insurance company and they tell me it looks like the office was in network, but the dentist they assigned to me when I got in was contracted out and not in network. TL, doctor, I verified that the dental office was in network with my insurance company and with the office, but I forgot to ask if the dentist at the office who was going to work with me actually worked for the office and wasn't just contracted out. I'm broke and basically fucked now. Fuck our entire insurance system. I plan to call them early tomorrow to talk about this with them. I get off work today when they're about to close and don't want to try to get help from someone who has just worked a full shift and might be less willing to help. Edit. I wasn't expecting this many responses, so I apologize if I don't respond to your comment. I want to thank everyone for being so supportive and of your suggestions. I'm going to try just giving a quick call to the dentist office tomorrow and expressing that this doesn't seem right and that they had my insurance info and knew I was there for in-network service. Depending on how that quick call goes, I might then reach out to my insurance company to point out that they referred me to this office and ask how they can help. Edit 2. A number of people have pointed out that things can change in between getting an EOB and a bill. So, although the EOB was sent from my insurance company and said, word for word, what we will pay, $51, what you owe, $536, making me think they were planning on sending me a bill for $536. I'll wait until I get the actual bill before making any calls. I want to thank everyone again for being supportive, and I'm sorry to hear about everyone else's stories of dealing with similar or worse situations. Edit 3. I went back and forth between trying to get ahead of this issue or just waiting for the actual bill. But this morning, I decided to call the dental office, and my heart was racing as soon as I reached someone in the financial department, but I remained as dispassionate as I could and just informed them that I received an EOB telling me that my insurance company was only going to pay about $51 of the total nearly $600 bill. The lady I spoke to was very nice and asked me to send them a picture of the EOB and said she would call me back. When she called back, she told me that, 1, a mistake was made for one of the charges, and I shouldn't have been recommended a topical thing they gave me and were charging me for. 2, a comprehensive exam is needed for all new patients, which include x-rays, and they were willing to write off those charges. 3, for the rest of the charges, the dentist who worked with me was in the process of getting covered by my insurance company. So they were willing to honor in-network costs for that. 4, basically almost all of the costs would be written off, and she's sorry that I received this EOB telling me that I owed all of this. As soon as she told me that, I was incredibly relieved. I had been planning how I would approach this based on everyone's advice, and I'm thankful I didn't have to go through with actually taking the time to fight it. I'm sorry to hear about everyone else's stories of having to pay thousands of dollars for similar issues. I can sometimes feel pretty cynical, especially because of some other stuff I've been dealing with recently, but the support that people were willing to offer warmed my heart, as cheesy as that sounds.